What's up, guys? Yes, I got my webcam on, and that is because this is a Week 1 NACL review. More so just going over how did I feel about the way my team played, and then just kind of like where everyone ended up going, like win-loss wise. So let's kind of cover just my team first. So DarkZero, I did a video going over all the roster changes, including ours. And we added an entire new top side and keeping the ball lane. That's what we did. Now, the first thing I gotta say is, yes, sir, Mr. Sajed. Mr. Sajed, he put in some work with a Kaisa and Lucian game. Yeah, he was doing some damn good damage in those games. Came back from Korea. He had a good bout there. I think the bot lane really started finding themselves to play lane better compared to how I'd say they were playing in spring, which is a big plus. And yeah, since we have some new guys in, he's the returning player, so naturally he should be the eyes on to looking to carry and like wait until everyone kind of meshes together. And he delivered. So woohoo! That's what I'm talking about. That's good, right? Zyko also doing some work. Always good to have these two in the team. Toasty, he had a little on and off start, I'll be honest. Of course, against Mr. Sochi, he kind of accidentally killed himself and gave a solo kill to Sochi. And I won't lie, that like the game against Dorado was a bit messy. There was definitely some fights that we took, or like forcing things that just flipped on our heads. And the Ori being a bit stronger than she should was problematic, but they didn't really use Nocturne Ori that well, so it ended up being pretty good. But yeah, there's just various things that happening in these games, along with our game against CNV, where we can accelerate the game better. We can take fights that are laid out to us, but we're not really noticing them. And the end result is just, yeah, things could be cleaner just if we were noticing this stuff, but we aren't. Not yet, at least. And I'd say, there's a mixture of opinions on like what to do. Again, that's pretty common with a team that's fresh, right? So they just have to work it through it, right? And just figure out like what kind of team do we want to be, like what plays do we really like. And that's kind of where teams like LG will definitely have a advantage going into this split, because they are a team that have obviously played an entire split together. And so the main thing for them is that they kind of know each other a lot better, especially like what kind of plays everyone wants to make, what kind of game do they all want to play. And so that's just something, in the next 4 weeks, last week, in these next 3 weeks, that the DarkZero squad has to figure out. And once they do, we'll be good to go. For now, we are 2-0. Dorado is, as expected, at the bottom. And now this is the section where I can kind of just go over the standings and like how I feel about everyone. Is that these are the two teams that I said were in the bottom tier, and that is where they ended up. Now, Vancouver Impact is the most obvious team to end in the bottom tier. Dorado actually had a reasonable game against... Actually, was it Dorado? Or was it... Oh, it was Vancouver Impact. Vancouver Impact had an actual reasonable game against Blue, where there's some things about the comp that could be a little bit better, but it was actually a very reasonable comp. It's just they had no idea how to execute it when it came to fights, so it kind of flopped and Blue swapped over. Dorado against us then, it was a little bit of a beating, and then against us, it was a little bit closer, but it still wasn't really like a comfortable close for them or anything like that. So there's a lot to be wanted for their squad, but as you can tell, they definitely look better than Vancouver, and Vancouver is kind of quite clearly just not having it. Like Dragoon's kind of suffering. Sudsy's actually doing okay. But yeah, like it's they're just kind of behind on macro sense and just micro play. And when that's ever the case, you're kind of doomed. Unfortunately. For Dorado, there's like a few things to look forward to. It's just, I don't know if they're really going to get all their shit together within 4 weeks, Like, that's really the big thing. For Winthrop, you know, this is not surprising at all. They're 1-1. They beat a bottom tier team, and then they played against CTG, and could have gone better, but it wasn't like a tragedy kind of game for them either. So, in the end of the day, yeah, they're looking like a middle of the pack squad, which is pretty spot on, right? Like pretty spot on. Luminosity, they dropped the game against CCG. I had CCG also like middle of the pack, same as Citadel, which I'm gonna say right now was correct. And same with Conviction, correct. This is the only one that's kind of funny that they lost, because the way they lost was honestly Insanity and Tactical, but really like Insanity especially was like inting it like crazy. Like he gets like the triple X. Tactical did not have a great game either, but like he was hella inting this game. For what reason, I don't know. And that was a big issue for them. And then of course Tactical not doing the best either. And it was just a very like straightforward comp. It was a Yasuo Alistar with a Xin Zhao. What was their mid pick? Oriana, and with a Galio. So it's a wombo combo comp that just kind of goes in. If you find a pick, toss your buttons, and hopefully you win. And honestly, they were finding the picks. It was working. And so props to CCG to getting a win over LG. And honestly, LG is going to want that one back, because you're not going to get it back. We're best of ones, right? So like this is the problem. Like, maybe LG would beat CCG in the next 2 games, but like you just don't get that. So this ends up becoming a great win for them, because CCG ends up losing to one of the tournament favorites, SN, which again I'm not surprised that these guys went 2-0. And they do look pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, they actually do look pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it was not a pretty loss. Like things kind of got away from them real quick, and Music couldn't figure out what the best pathing was. Like, where could he actually extend? Because he got an early advantage in the beginning, like he actually got to... Actually, is this the game where he got an early advantage? No, it's not. But, like, the beginning of the game was, like, okay. And then it just kind of steamrolled real quick. And at that point, like, because like, he was, like, 1-7 or something. Like, it was, like, way worse. And a lot of that just honestly, at the end of the day, just comes from the fact that you just have to be really mindful of like the invades you do and how early you want to take like move for objectives and things like this. It just got away. It just got away from them really too quick. Like the enemy Talia was kind of just perma moving, so you're taking a 3v3 in a situation now becomes a 3v4, and they just got lost. And that was it. And yeah, like I said, it kind of got away from them. And CNV beat CTG, which is funny because like I have them like pretty close in the same tier. I believe. I think I had them in the same tier. I almost want to say I had CCG above them. I can't remember exactly what my ranks were, but pretty sure it was very close to that. And Conviction, yeah, they took out CGG. CGG was like, I think they were playing a LeBlanc. It was like down in CS, but had some kills. The problem with CCG is that while there are not notable names, there are a lot of notable names on it. Philip, Bradley, Kenvi, Instinct, Diamond, right? Like these are all names that people hear and they're like, wow, not a bad roster. But it's just like, it just doesn't, the players there, they've been playing for so long that I honestly just don't think they have the same hunger or like the bad habits that are just kind of built up. There's just a bunch of things to me that just kind of hold them back that I haven't seen like these bad habits ever be fixed in the years that they've played. And so the end result is just kind of, they're just there. Like at least a guy like Fake God, Fake God's probably like one of my favorite players to at least make a comparison on like, this guy looks different year to year. Like despite him being in NACL, like the champions he adds to his pool, the way he plays, it gets better. So like he's a really good example of like someone that you look towards in the NACL and say, yeah, like this is a guy who actually will make change and make an impact on the team. The other guys that like I'm talking about, like a bunch of them just don't. Like, it's just not happening. And so the end result is just you're just flatlining. And then while other teams have players that are getting better, like Toasty, and you're just kind of going to get overtaken. And that's just how it is. And for me, based on the NACL like standings, this looks pretty up to par to what I imagine. The only one that was like off is that Luminosity is 1-1, but they lost to a team that at least is somewhat decent in CCG. You know, Blue Otters, I know people saying Blue Otters are going to be at the very bottom. They're going to be terrible. But to me, I mean, like, you still have Quacker, you have Chrome, you have Rovex, you have Samikin. Like, even though they're adding a new jungler to their squad, Low Jazz, like, they still have a bunch of pieces that work and work together. So I just couldn't really see how that roster just goes straight to the bottom compared to the others. Especially when some of those players have shown that they can play towards the top. And yeah, that fills out. You know, we go into week 2 based on like what we're seeing here. You know, we have CTG versus Dog. You know, there is a chance that Dorado could upset CTG, but in theory, CTG should win. This is a massive one where it's SN versus LG, and so LG needs to make sure they're not inting it up. Because honestly, right now, it looks like an SN win. It does. It does look like an SN win. The only thing is that Jerry has to be careful to not just like randomly die as well, because like those are the two players right now who are kind of like teetering on like doing some weird shit. And like I said, for now, SN it's leaning to SN, but LG is still like a top dog. You know what I mean? So to me, like this will be the most interesting matchup of that first day by and large. At DZ versus CCG, you know, that's us. In theory, we should just win. In theory, we should win. But like I said, it's not like CCG is just a slouching team, so there is a chance. CNV versus Vi. Yeah, so that means CNV should win. CTG versus Dodge. I'm not gonna lie. For me at least, I'm putting just like a equal sign to that, because I think there is a probability that is not just like minuscule that these guys could pull one over. Winthrop versus Blue, this is actually also a very good matchup. Like, I feel like out of all the matchups that we see for this day, SN versus LG and Winthrop versus Blue are probably the most interesting ones. And for this one, it's actually a little complicated just in the fact that Winthrop is like guaranteed to do like some inting plays. Like, it's just gonna happen. And I feel like when Blue Otter lost to LG, while it was a little rough, Insanity still kind of crumbled over Samikin, and they still found some picks. They just couldn't get anything going, and I don't think Winthrop has that same consistent macro sense. So I'm actually going to put Blue over Winthrop, because I feel like unless they're facing a team that's really just that far ahead of them, like in terms of just like skill level, I really don't think it's just like a pushover team. DZ versus LG, look guys, this is a biased one. This is another banger. LG is getting a lot of is having a big week this week, right? They're playing against SN and they're playing against DC. I would love for us to win. Like, I obviously want us to win. Do I think it's gonna be hard? Yeah, it probably will be. There's no guarantee that we're gonna win this one. There's no guarantee that LG's gonna win. But in theory, they should win. But this is my bias. And I am not going to say that LG is going to beat us. This is the bias that I think we will take it over. SN, 100% over Blue. CNV versus Winthrop. The thing is like, I kind of want to put CNV over Winthrop for the game day, because it's like similar logic in terms of like how Blue is, but at the same time, CNV kind of does some poor things. I feel like if Winthrop can figure out how to play around TF Blade, I think they have a shot. You know? Like, I really do feel like they have a shot. And so I might even lean towards them, because I feel like Catapult has just been okay. He hasn't been stellar or anything like that. He's just been okay. And so again, it's really the bot lane that you need to watch out for. And I feel like this honestly might be one of the better matchups for the day as well. CNV versus Winthrop. This one is actually close. And logically, honestly, I'm gonna do this. And like this doesn't make sense in some ways at first because it's like, well, I do think Vancouver Impact is probably the worst team. At the same time, I think if they're playing against a team of equal like value or close to equal value, I think their drafts kind of push them over a little bit. So I'm kind of hoping that's going to be the case. And for CCG versus CCG, I would say this one's a little difficult. Quacker versus Phillip, or not Quacker versus Phillip. Crimson versus Phillip. Music versus Kenvi. Honestly, this one is probably the one I'm most uncertain on out of all the matchups that I'm seeing for this day. And it's probably just because, again, that like I feel like there's things about CTG that are good. There's some things about CCG or CTG, and there's some things about CCG that are good as well. It's just where do you lay that out when you compare both of them? And man, I don't know. It's a tough choice. Because the thing is, the Shogo show is not bad. And honestly, look, I'm not going to lie. I actually might take them over CTG. Because I feel like their bot lane might actually perform better compared to CTG's. And while they have like that kind of game style, I don't know if Phillip is going to be overbearing and overtaking top laner against Crimson. And like make his life and the game and the team, like the map's life for CCG awful. And if that's not going to happen, I kind of favor CCG in this. And the end result is, you know, if we look at like what's going to happen, you know, a lot of teams are going to go 1-1 again. Like I even have Vancouver Impact taking a game. So like a lot of teams are going 1-1. SN is going 2-0. DZ is going 2-0. And, you know, obviously this would be a massive hit if LG actually goes 0-2 and they're 1-3 halfway through the split. Because now they're like, it's pretty much, it would probably be pretty hard to make top 2 at that point for them. If that's how it goes. So this week is super, super important for LG. Like they need to get these games down because they already dropped one game last week. But all in all, yeah, the direction and pacing of that, like where we're going with like NACL seems to be like as expected to be. Like I'm not surprised by anything that's happening here. Besides that one loss for LG. And so going into this week, like I said, for us, CCG, not an opponent you can slouch on. We do need to take them seriously. I mean, Maryville literally played against Ole Miss. And there's definitely some things that are happening there. It's like, oh shit, we could lose these games. Like that can definitely happen. And against LG, I mean, yeah, we got 3-0'd in finals, right? We got 3-0'd with finals, and now we have a new squad. So like, again, cannot take LG lightly at all. And even though I have like these other teams like kind of weighing over them for now, the reason why I have that equal sign for both of them is because in the end of the day, like LG had a shit day. They had a better day the next one, but we only got to see 2 games. It's literally 2 games. It's still not enough to just say like, yeah, like the other team is just that much better, because they're not. So like if LG goes 2-0, holy shit, they could just make a run for first right off there. That's it. Like literally, like that's all they had to do. If LG goes 2-0, they could probably get first place. If they go 0-2, they are fighting for third place. And that's it. That's my little review, guys, for NACO week 1. And I go in a little bit into week 2. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. If you like NACO, please just comment and just tell me. Because, I mean, like I said, it's just the scene I'm working in, so I figured I might as well just talk about it. And then, of course, I will try to fill in some additional content for international leagues and LTA whenever that starts. But for now, NACL.